This is my guide to create striking lava bases quick and easy in no time at all. Let me show you how. First thing you want to do is prime your base white. This will help the lava colours and any bright colours that you choose to use really stand out and really make them pop. It will also help the paint adhere to the textured plastic base. Next stage is to work out exactly where your model is going to be placed on the base. This is especially important with raised bases where you are adding an extra layer, not putting the miniature directly on the base. So I happen to have this Space Marine here, and just using a pencil I am very gently just going to mark roughly where the feet are going to stand, just to give me a rough idea of where the model is placed on the base. Next, using some 5mm cork tile and your snips, you can just sort of roughly tear pieces down to the size that you want, and you've sized the sizes that you've drawn on the base. Pretty quick, pretty simple. Obviously get rid of any straight edges. You're trying to make this look organic, so something along those lines. Trim it down if necessary, just usually pulling it apart with the snippers. Try and take bits off from the top as well. Make it just look as organic as possible. Once you're happy, put those pieces to one side. Double check that your model is standing on them as well as can be. All the extra little bits that have come off from the cork, don't throw them away. Keep those for little tactical rocks you can use on further bases. Next up, you will need a selection of paints ranging from a darker orange through to a bright sort of pastel yellow. I happen to be using the TT Combat range here because I really like their oranges. First step is to take the palest yellow and mark out roughly, sketch it in, where you want the sort of lava flows to be heading. In this case, we're going to go something along those lines. And then using your darker yellows, map it in. You are essentially wet blending here, and just go all the way around. And this is just, as I said, this is just marking out roughly where your paths are going to go. As they get darker, using all the colours available to you, and so just mark it out really roughly to start with. This is then going to give you a guide to go back and blend into, following out to the darker yellow. Or orange. So blend them in. So this is, as I said, this is officially counted as wet blending. Obviously these pieces here are going to be covered up by the two islands. So just for starters, just map it out really quickly, really gently, something like that. Nothing too particularly difficult to do. Before this starts drying off, you can just keep working. So come back to yellows, push them around. You kind of don't want it to be super linear. You don't want it to be loads of straight lines. You kind of want to have the colours sort of just whirling around into each other. There's no straight lines in nature. So have them sort of just push them around, start messing about with these colours, and eventually, with a little bit of working, come back to your lighter colours as well. Don't forget those. Push them around. Just a little bit of time. Takes a bit of working. If you're using a wet palette, it will really help because you're going to have access to all the colours available to you in front of you. You can just keep picking them up. So I'm not bothering to wash my brush out. I'm just blending all these colours very gently into each other in an almost circular motion, but nothing too aggressive. Final touches. Darken off some of the outer areas. Most of this is going to be covered up anyway. There you go. No airbrush required. Still nice and bright and glowing. You could go down to almost white if you really wanted to, but the pale yellow for me seems to be bright enough. Just let that dry. while the base is drying, take your rocks, I've got these on a pin, and just simply paint them black. You will need quite thin paint so that it all goes into all the little cracks and grooves in the cork. As I do have another video on making paint thinner. Go and check out the rest of the channel for my recipe for the paint thinner that I use. Very quick, very simple, only 2 ingredients, and it will really help your painting going forwards. Using thinner paints is always a good thing to do. The next step is a very quick, simple dry brush with a darker grey. I'm using Skaven Blight Dinge, and then a sort of mid-tone grey, so I'll be using Dawnstone, and a soft dry brush. So a quick dry brush with both of those colours. Don't want it too light. Volcanic rock or lava rock is usually quite a very dark colour anyway, and it will help balance out against the very bright lava colours. Just gently dry brush over the whole rock. Soft dry brushes seems to work better for this. It doesn't pull any of the chunks of cork out, so just take your time. Be gentle. First dry brush, bit heavier. Second one with the lighter shade. Just be a bit more gentle and a little bit more sparing with it. Second colour, just pick out the edges. Nothing too crazy. Don't need to do tons of it. Less is more. There's one. There's number 2. That's about all you need to do. You don't need to do loads of it at all. So that was Skaven Blight Dinge, and then followed up with a very light dry brush of Dawnstone. And that's the rocks done. And then just using some thick super glue or super glue gel, simply then just glue the rocks. You should know roughly where they've gone because you marked it out previously. Don't need a lot of this stuff. And then work out where they're going to sit. So one there. Second one somewhere there. Double check your model before the glue goes off. Still works fine with the base. That's it. Let that dry. You can take it one stage further if you want to. You could literally just paint the rim of the base and be done with it. Or you can add the little extra bits of lava rock in there. I'll show you how to do that if you want to do it. If you want to add any extra lava rock floating around, similar to what we did here, 2 options. You can use the Games Workshop Technical Modern Earth Black sort of crackle paint and apply using a brush or an applicator tool. Remember, the thicker you put it on, the bigger the cracks will be. So if you want big cracks, more spaced out chunks, a thick coat. If you want very small, tiny hairline cracks, then use a thinner coat. If not, if you don't want to use that or don't have it, you can just use just a black paint and just add a couple of extra bits just around the base of where you've got your larger lava rocks. Doesn't have to be anything huge. Just a couple of little specks of black paint will just help give the impression that there is some other bits and pieces there. So doesn't have to be anything crazy, doesn't have to be anything over the top. You can spend as much time or as little time on these bases as you want. Let that dry. Simply paint the base edge in any colour that you prefer. I have chosen Steel Legion Drab from Games Workshop, and then just use some super glue and attach your model to the base. Really quick, really simple. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and see you again soon.